If you don't mind, is it okay if you turn on your video for the discussion we're having? I just find it easier since we'll be chatting for a bit here. Ooh. Oh, there. Perfect. All right, let's just jump right into it. Shailesh, thanks for
Hey, hi. So I
setting
just
this
wanted to
up.
introduce myself and also, introduce. I'm the PM for this from Ed. So as I spoke to Joy, so he asked me to schedule this interview. That so nice meeting you, and also
Yep.
Priyanka, nice meeting you. And yeah, I'll be on mute, so you can take. And if you want, I can also drop. So
Yeah, just drop, man. It's okay.
okay, yeah,
We'll just ping you through Joy as needed.
okay.
And see, we already met actually for the other stuff is
Yes.
scheduled.
Okay, great. Thanks. How are you?
All right, thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
I hope you don't mind, Arjun. I just made him go just so it's easier for us to talk.
No, that's fine for me.
You know,
Yeah.
right? It's just the people that need to talk are here. I'll just jump right into it. I'm Thad. Nice to meet you. Priyanka is on the call. We are both based locally in Atlanta, so US East time. The engagement is, of course, for a US client, but they expect you to work US time, right? Because if you were working US time, that means you've got 6, 7 hours more of work to do now. We try to stagger it. So, for example, if you're working with what we call the learning team, which is what we're looking for. The learning team, they typically have meetings maybe 1 or 2 or 3 hours ago, and probably the last meeting of the day would be right now. So, hopefully within the next, if you were on the team within the next 30 minutes, or you would already be logged off. So that's the expectation of the role, standard 5 days a week. It will be primarily with Power BI, Power BI report development. You're expected to learn and implement the usual stuff: row level security, create paginated reports, email subscriptions, and work with a larger team with a lot of requirements. So I'm a Power BI developer myself, sort of like a product owner, and then I do Power BI development. Priyanka does our backend development. She's our technical lead that creates our ETLs, loads data into our databases.
Okay.
So,
Hi, Priyanka.
could you spend a few minutes to tell us about yourself, your experience?
Yes, thank you for having me. I have more than 5.8 years experience in Power BI. I have worked in various fields like sales, insurance, banking, HR, and my last project was into medical domain. If you talk about Power BI, I am highly skilled using Power BI for data visualization analysis. So this includes creating interactive report, dashboard, connecting to various data sources, including SQL database, and implementing complex data transformation and calculation using text. And if you talk about my last project was basically for the Netherlands based client called Natus. So they were into manufacturing of medical equipment. So they are specifically into neuro and sensory. So we were building an analytical solution that can gives insight about the product performance like licensing of software, risk analysis, security of application. For that, I was using import mode, and data source was SQL and Jira and GitHub. And for the KPI, we were showing high, medium, low performance for Black Duck and Coverity. So Black Duck and Coverity were the two software for them. All the whatever the product they had, all the product performance was coming um, into the Black Duck and Coverity. So those performance I have to show it into my dashboard. For that, I was using the bar chart, and for the Jira performance, I was using the trend chart there in my dashboard. So for
How
the
did you get the Jira data? Was it given to you as like a CSV file, or is it in a DB?
I was connecting through the direct query, or they were providing the CSV file. So when the data will refresh, so data will also refresh that way. So their schedule was every Friday. The data was refreshed.
Oh, gotcha. So in your team, was there a dedicated, like me, I have Priyanka on the call. Was there someone dedicated to load data into tables for you that's the best. But I do need to know: are you comfortable with writing your own SQL statements?
Yes, I can write my SQL statement. I have not used much on my last project, but yes, I can write my some of my SQL statement.
Okay, let's be honest here. Now, I like SQL. I like SQL more than Power BI.
Okay.
So Power BI, I would probably say I'm like a 6 or 7 out of 10. But in SQL, I feel like I'm an 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. What two scores would you give yourself? Like, just be honest about, because if you're good at SQL, you do things in SQL, right? Like I do my case statement in SQL. Someone that's good in Power BI, they will do their case switch statement in Power BI. So tell me where you are in that thinking.
I can rate myself as 6 into the SQL. So I can write complex query like select, join, group by, having an order by, and optimization query like using indexing, partition, and performance techniques. Yeah. So that a basic thing I can do, like or as per the requirement I can use SQL queries. Depend on the requirement. So nothing
You
like that.
even said indexes and performance. So you have actual experience. Like, for example, if you run a query, it takes 10 minutes. I'm gonna be angry. I'd be like, we can't have you run a 10-minute query. I need you to run this 10-minute query in 1 minute. So do you have experience like that, investigating and trying to make a SQL? Okay, fine, Arjun.
Yeah, it got shut down automatically. I don't know how.
Maybe your laptop or PC rebooted all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We were just talking about your SQL experience. You said you were 6 out of 10, but of course comfortable with optimizing queries. Do you have experience creating your own tables and views?
Yes, I have created some tables and views for the requirement.
Got it. How about thinking about the primary key, the foreign key, and the index? Have you participated in like those efforts for your team?
I have participated, like I have created the Miro, like I have created the Miro and the modeling, like designed the modeling for the end user for the SQL. So who can create the like SQL and into the Snowflake, who can design what can be the primary key and what can be the secondary. That way I have designed all the modeling for the SQL and the Snowflake user in my previous project.
Gotcha. So if you said you were a 6 out of 10 in SQL, how would you score yourself in Power BI?
I can rate myself in Power BI as 7.
Gotcha, 7 out of 10. In Power BI, we do a lot of very complex data loads. We deal with a lot of data, right? Do you have any experience with incremental refreshes?
Yes, incremental refresh where you have to like refresh the large number, like old data, like you have years of data, so where you can put the like start date. You don't have to refresh whole data if you have long years of data, so you just put the start date and the end date from which
I've implemented it, but I always have issues. So now I hate it. I'm always scared of incremental. In your experience, what's your process to troubleshoot, or what are the errors you've seen when you've done incremental refresh? Or just tell me about your experience using it, like the bad things, and how your team worked around those things.
Okay, so the you have the when the data source not supporting for the query folding, like if you have incremental refresh queries and query folding, so it is break performance suffer. So we have to check the query can be push filter or the at the source level or not. And sometimes the data is mismatched, like data column mismatch, like range start or the range end types. Otherwise, filtering fails. If the data source is not common between the old data and the new data, so it will create the redundancy there. So the data will not refresh properly.
So what do you do? Like for example, you create an incremental refresh last week. Last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's fine. And now today, Friday, it failed. If you look at the refresh history, it failed. What's your typically next steps? What do you look for, or what tools do you use?
So if we have created like last week, if it is failing like current week, so we'll see the error message in refresh history. Like we will identify the root cause, like a timeout credential, like it can be timeout credential, query folding issue, it can be anything. We have to change the data source, like if the schema changes, like column renaming data, type modification can break the refresh, or it can be query folding issue. Like we have to ensure that the filter of range start or end state are still being pushed to the source level. And if the data volume increases, a sudden spike in data might exceed its like source limit. Check data size, what is the data size it is, like whether it is require power premium, like Power BI premium or SQL indexing or not. Or it can be issue with the data gateway as well. Like if we are using an on-premises gateway, I have to check log for the connectivity failure as well. So these checks we need to go.
Oh, so you have the experience with the data gateway, with creating, adding connections, for example. You have experience adding connections, defining refresh. Okay, let me think about incremental. Have you used the app called Tabular Editor?
Tabular editor I haven't worked on.
That's okay. Same for me.
Yeah.
You know how it is with Power BI. There's so many features.
Yes.
RLS, and we can just go through them really quick. If you have experience, just say yeah. But if not, it's fine. Like for example, ask how many projects have you used RLS on?
RLS I have used on my last project. Like when you have to put the data, like if you want to like filter out the data according to the designation wise or the region wise, you have to restrict the data according to the user. So there you use the RLS. So it can be two type, like a static and dynamic port. So in static, it is a fixed rule. You have to apply just a fixed rule. This user only can see that particular data. But into the static dynamic level, you can modify it for this particular mail IDs. People can see this particular data. So you can use that way.
How about paginated reports, multi-page paginated reports? Have you used Report Builder?
I haven't used a report builder or the paginated report, but I know what it is. Because when the end user need to want to see the report into the like Word format on the page level. So there it can be multiple pages. They want to see the actual data what it is. So there we use the paginated report. So you can filter out your data into the report builder or the paginated report, where you can filter out the column and whatever the data is required, and take the printout for that. So according to and then you can export it into the PDF file or Excel or CSV file and submit that.
Have you used any of the new apps like, we call this visual, we call that thing? One is called Measure Killer, and one is called, oh, I forgot what it's called. Have you used Measure Killer? No.
No, I haven't used that.
Okay, I haven't used it as well, but my teammate showed it to me. Have you used Power BI project files and template files?
Templates files into the Power Apps or into the Power BI only?
The Power BI PBIT files, instead of PBIX, they're called like PBIT.
So,
have you used that?
So yeah, regularly work with the PBX file, like report development and the PBX file, like for template. These format essential for the creating, sharing or standardizing report across the project.
Got it. How about deployment pipelines? Do you have experience, or did your team implement deployment pipelines?
Yes, my team has implemented a deployment pipeline. When you can like you have to set up created a pipeline, assign the separate workspace for each stage, ensuring the seamless like content promotion. Like you can for the automation, you can utilize a deployment rule for automate data source and parameter adjust during the content transition. And then you can monitor, like you have employed the comparison feature to identify and address discrepancy between the stage, maintaining consistency there.
Yeah. Good. So, so you're someone that knows SQL, and then you're familiar with Power BI. So this will be a longer question. Okay, think about it. You have a source database. You write SQL to get data from the source database. You bring that data into Power Query, right? Because you do get data, SQL Server database, then you paste your SQL query. And then once it's in Power Query, you can add steps. You can remove duplicates. You can add columns, whatever. And then in Power BI Desktop, you can create measures, create calculated columns, conditional formatting, everything, all the fun stuff you can do. So from source database all the way to Power BI frontend, right? Those are typically the steps we take to create a report. Now, when you're working for a large company, there's going to be a lot of business rules. The business rules could be like sales tax calculation, time of year, more expensive in the summer, cheaper in the winter. There are always these rules that we have to implement in our reports, and they also change. The changes can, sometimes they'll tell you, oh, change the business rule tomorrow, or change it 6 months from now, right? So for us, when we create reports, we always have this problem. So for these business rules that are, sometimes they're complex, sometimes they change, sometimes they don't, where do you want to implement those business rules? Do you implement them in Power BI only with measures and calculated columns? Or do you implement them in Power Query as steps, create column? Or do you prefer to implement it with your SQL code? When you write the SQL code, you calculate it right in SQL, right? Because you can do that. Or you can even implement them on the database. You can tell the database team, like, hey, create a view that calculates the sales tax right at the database. So in your experience, what do you think is I don't know if it's the right way to do it. What do you think your teams did, and whether that was good or bad? Like, what are your thoughts about all these business rules, right? Because a DBA, I can do it in the DB, but a lazy DBA.
Hi, Ted. I have to drop for another meeting.
Yeah, no problem. I got this, Amarica. Thank you for that. Right, but somebody that's lazy will say, I don't want to do it. You're a Power BI dev. Just do it in Power BI. But what do you feel is the right way to do things?
Like we'll use if in Power BI report, especially in large organization where these rules are complex and subject to change, it is crucial to determine the optimal layer of for implementation. So we can do what we can do. We can we can use a SQL layer where the transformation are stable and unlikely to change frequently. It is a centralized logic benefit. It multiply application or report. The advantages for that, like it leverages database performance for heavy computation, ensure consistency across the various platform accessing the database. So we can consider this, like it required coordination with the database administration or changes for the changes, and it may introduce dependency affecting multiple system if business rule change. So and we can do the if we are doing the changes into the Power Query. So when we use it, we are transformation are specific to a particular report or the data set. So you need to user friendly interface, like for data shaping. So when you will do the changes into the Power Query, all the transformation will done into the SQL file or the source file as well. And so advantages, it provide a visual and intuitive platform for the data manipulation, and it will facilitate easier debugging and the step-by-step transformation tracking.
Yeah, that just make me think maybe we should do it that way. Uh, Currency conversion though, like if you think about currency conversion, I don't know, there's like 100 currencies around the world, and it always changes. Do you think that's a candidate to do in Power Query or in Power BI, or do you think that's more a candidate to do in SQL or on the database?
See,
I don't know the correct answer, by the way. I don't know, so just tell me your ideas. I don't know what I should be doing.
Okay, so implementing currency conversion is a dynamic environment where exchange rate fluctuate frequently. So it required careful consideration for like maintainability to performance and scalability. So we can do the like we can use if we are doing into the SQL level, so it will be the centralized logic if needed for the consistency across multiple applications. So if it is high performance batch processing is required, and for the advantage, if you talk about advantage, it utilize database engine efficient for complex calculation, and it will ensure uniform application for business rules across various platforms.
Do you have a finance background or finance education?
No, I did my MBA in finance, but I do have like a science background.
Oh, gotcha. Are you comfortable creating reports that are sort of finance related? Reports that that do these things, tax calculations, computing things in the millions of dollars. I mean, the computation is okay. It's the validation that's the scary part, the error checking, right?
See, every new experience will add the advantage in your career, and like you have to learn every day. So yeah, there is like I don't have any problem to work on the finance. So I did my MBA in finance, so yeah, I can do
it. On the Power BI front, how do you learn the new features of Power BI? Because it feels like Power BI, there's always something new. Like now they're calling it Fabric on the web. I don't even know why. But for yourself, how have you been keeping up to date with your Power BI skills?
So you always get a notification from the Power BI side. Like if you have separate page into the you have official Microsoft resource like Power BI blog. You can they update every day, regularly update in the with the announcement feature, like summarize the best practices. So you can, and they have some tutorial in the Microsoft Learn, so you can go there and read the documentation. They have some practices also where you can perform the practices with the small data what they provide. And we have community engagement forum, like we can participate in the discussion or platform like Reddit and Power BI provide inside the real world. And see also they provide so many certification in the new learnings. Recently they have provided the Microsoft Learning there for the Microsoft Fabric, so that I have completed from the Microsoft side.
Oh, but are you trying to take the certification test?
Yeah, I try to take the certification there, because right now I'm free, so I do the certification or learn new things. I've learned recently Power Apps, and will complete within 2-3 days Power Automate as
well. Awesome. Power BI is like super powerful, right? And a lot of it is, I think, the DAX and measures. Yeah. Tell me about your experience writing measures and DAX. Like what is maybe not the most complex, but it was challenging, like a requirement, and then you wrote a measure or two measures. Tell me about like a Power BI requirement that you met by writing a measure, like that you were really proud of, like you did it, like, oh, this is so great, I'm so good. Do you have anything you remember that stands out like that?
Not very proud of anything about that. I have worked, did a small project, it was a real estate company. So it is categorize its customer into tiers like gold, silver, and the bronze. So based on their total purchase amount over the past year, the tiers were defined as follows: like Gold customer is spending above $10,000. Silver customer spending between 5,000 and 10,000, and the bronze customer is spending below 5,000. So the primary challenge was to create a measure that dynamically assign each customer to the appropriate tier. Considering that purchase data is updated regularly, so this required the measure to adjust automatically as new data is incorporated. So what I did, I developed a DEX measure that calculate the total purchase for each customer over the past year and assign a tier based on the defined threshold. So that way we have we have customized the measure according to that. Like we have customized here, then we have put the return switch value there.
Are you comfortable with those measures with with relationships and how it works in Power BI? Do you feel like you've mastered relationships in the data in the modeling view where you can drag field and create the arrow? Yeah, do you think you have a good grasp of that, of creating relationships between tables?
Yes, I can create the relationship between people. Every time you can't be you cannot be expert in everything, but yeah, I can create a modeling and a relationship between the table.
Have you ever created measures that ignore relationships or ignore filter conditions?
I haven't done that, but we can do that. We can create you can put the specific filter, like for example you have a measure that calculated total sales, but you want it to ignore any filter on the product category. So that way you can
Gotcha.
that way you can put the total sales all category calculation, like sum sales amount all sales product category. So you can filter out the data accordingly. You can apply it to product category the measure return to the total sales across the category. So that way you can do it.
Got it. Okay, let's go back to your bronze, silver, gold example. Can you just try to tell me what the measure would be? Pretend you're typing it out. It doesn't have to be exact. Just think out loud what that measure was. How you would exactly phrase it. I know there's no if statement or case statement in Power BI, but how would you do that? How exactly would you do that measure?
Okay, so we can calculate it purchase for each customer. Like we can use the calculate function for sum of the sales amount and apply the dates in period function to filter data from the past year.
Gotcha.
So that
but
way,
how do you assign bronze, silver, gold then?
some sales compute the total sales amount, date is period, filter the sales purchase data to include only the last year. So define the customer tier based on the total purchase. You use the switch function to categorize the customer. So the true function allow the evaluation of multi condition there.
Got it.
Like a customer tier switch function we can use there, so it will allow the customer to switch according to the data changes. So it will change according to that.
Have you worked with data that's like 20 years of data, 10 million records? Have you worked with something that's on like the really big scale? That
I haven't worked with the older data, but I have worked with the larger data.
have you encountered the challenge of slowly changing dimensions? SCD or slowly changing dimensions. If not, that's fine because I haven't. But
Okay.
but the other team mentioned it's one of their key issues.
Yeah.
But have you encountered that or no?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's fine. It's the way they told it to me is that years ago there's a 10-year-old record they're facing. Right, because it's expensive to reload 10 years of data every day because normally it doesn't change. So I think that's something that they have to consider. mostly on the developer and
So
PPE
we can
side.
enable the detect data change like in an incremental refresh. We can use a last modified date column to track changes like in Power BI refresh only changes partition. Like we can use a full refresh for the specific period for a specific period like a temporarily extended to refresh period to include older data. For example, change range start and the range end to include past year data.
Yeah, but it's risky. Remember, if you put range, start range. Well, that's okay. I mean, it's just like, obviously, I'm asking about the real world problems. Going back to like Power BI features, have you?
Yeah, I have just I have used it and just completed some badges for the fabric. So I use fabric as well in my previous project. Like it is like in micro like it is a unified data platform. You can combine Power BI, Synapses Analytics, Data Factory, and a data lake there. So into the one platform you can do you can use whole data like you can use the Power BI also, Synapses Analytics as well, Data Factory and Data Lake as well. And it is a web-based integration. It is allow direct access to the lakehouse, warehouse, and the notebook via browser. And you don't have
But has your team actually created or used lakehouses or warehouses or notebooks? Have you tried that yourself?
No, I just have done the Power BI course there into the Fabric, but personally with the team I haven't used that the basic basic data what they share. So on that I have done it, not into. But I don't think so. Like the way it has been taught, it is not that difficult.
Yeah. It's the same for me. I just followed the learn.microsoft.com tutorial, but that's it. I don't know. I don't know what the value or the impact is on my project yet. So
I really I would love to tell me about what about the project and what we are putting on my profile. What someone going to do on that particular project? What will be the work profile will be there? How many team members will be there in that? And what is the key business problem with the Power BI solution? Like what you are facing and what are the total data source will be?
All right. So 10 to 15 years of data, slowly changing dimensions, meaning a record from 10 years ago can get updated today. And this is all trading compliance. This is an airline, Delta Airlines. Trading, there's international bag handling. Some trainings expire 1 year, 2 year expiration, 5 years. Some trainings expire every 3 months. So there's always a need to check for compliance. If you're thinking about 100,000 employees, 200,000 contractors, so there's a lot of reporting. I think it's a very small team, probably one lead, 2 or 3 report developers, maybe 1 to 2 data engineers assigned to it. US time, but kind of half US time or like 1/3 US time. So there's some overlap, right? Like I mentioned at the start of the call. The unique thing about this project is that you will be asked to talk to the customer directly.
Okay.
There's no Scrum Master. There's no on-site offshore model. It's like our business customer doesn't care if you're in Atlanta or in the UK or in India or the Philippines. You will be in the meeting. He will talk to you directly. He will give you his requirements directly. He or 2 or 3 of them. You will show your work to them directly. You will schedule time with them directly to go over the data, to validate. And the hardest part, good or bad, you will receive the feedback directly. Okay, some people don't like that.
No, it's okay.
I just want to be clear. Some are not confident enough, right? They don't like it. Like, this sucks. This is ugly. Why did you do it this way? All the numbers are wrong. Some people cannot handle that. But I have to warn you, our team doesn't have the manpower to create a shield. There's a lot of trust, right? And I think most people in that team, they actually enjoy the direct relationship. They would rather, why do you wait for someone, for a scrum master to tell you what their feedback is? Just talk to the guy directly and he'll tell you, right? He'll schedule a meeting with you and go over your report field by field. So that's the kind of engagement it is. We don't really waste time. I think the velocity it's Power BI reporting. There's an established data model. Create a report, you create the email subscription. The RLS is super simple. We just create one secured group and then you add that. There is no deployment pipeline right now, which is a mistake. We should probably implement that. So that's probably the harder part. Like, we have to think about a pipeline mindset because we haven't been using it. We've just been creating reports. So, I don't know. It's what it's like in the corporate world. There's an unlimited amount of work, unlimited amount of reports. It's just nonstop. And if you have good progress with the training, we're gonna have you work on something else as well. There's just so much work to do. We can do training, we can do sales reports, we can do revenue reports, everything. There's the team has payments, tracking, surveys, customer surveys. We do those kind of reports. So that's pretty much it. It's a very big team. The team is like 20 people, but the project or group you're assigned to is like 4 people. You will be assigned to a small one. Yeah.
So it's good if so many projects are there. It means so much of learning is there. So it's not about the coordinating directly with the end user or directly with the client. I have in my previous project also, my manager allow me to directly coordinate with the client, because they will only discuss what is the requirement, and I can if I'll coordinate with them directly, so my understanding will be more clear. So
yeah, that's great. Better understanding the business rules. There's no wasted time, right? There's no need to waste time. Just talk to them.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to adjust to the client's time zone, right? To make yourself available. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty good engagement. There's no on call. There's no support, right? If your refresh fails, you can get to check it tomorrow, right? What's important is communication. If you have a report that fails on a Friday, the default is like, we'll check on it Monday first thing. If it's urgent, or then we'll work on it. We'll negotiate with the business. Like, hey, how urgent is urgent, right? But typically we don't really. For this team at least, there's no super critical reports. Although we are trying to move into real time and direct query. So we're gonna try and update this some of it we're gonna update in real time as a practice, because we've done it with other teams. For this team, we're also gonna. So we're using direct query or dashboards, right, to get data real time, not just in the daily refresh. Like, as soon as it is refreshed in the HR system, we'll query every 1 minute. The query is running every 1 minute, for example, to grab the latest data.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yep. So, any other questions? I know it's really late over there and we had some technical issues, but I think we had a great conversation. Hope you found value in this. I appreciate your flexibility. You were probably only told about this meeting 8 hours ago, 8 or 9 hours ago. Same for me, last minute. So I do appreciate you being flexible to talk to us at the last minute like this after your workday. Weekend's about to start, so I hope you have plans to spend time with your family. And I do appreciate the time. This was a good discussion.
It was a nice a discussion with you. I'm just waiting for the feedback. Hope it is positive.
No, I tell you did a great job. You interview well. Having good connection, of course, is important. Normally I feel bad. Oh, she got disconnected, but like right now you're connected, and obviously it's crystal clear, right? And your video is fast, so that's not a concern to me. That's just a one-time thing that happened, right? Yeah, I mean, the usual things are there. It's always harder to connect to a new company. If you work in a new company, access, Power BI license, laptop. Uh, I recommend if you have a spare monitor or a spare TV at home,
Yes.
you connect your laptop to that, right? Because that way you can really create better stuff in Power BI. Uh, now I tell you, Power BI reports, I want you to create them in 1080p. I want you to use modern fonts. I want a high resolution 1080, 1920 by 1080 resolution. A lot of our reports now we put on TVs. They have these big 55-inch TVs, and they just put the report there, right? So if your report doesn't look good,
Yeah.
people will pass by and say, "Oh, that looks ugly. Ooh, did you do that?" Like, you better tell the person that did that to change that. So, don't be afraid of that, right? Feedback is also good. That meant you also get the feedback, the good feedback directly. That nothing beats that feeling when your business customer, right, gives you that positive feedback directly. So, yeah, that's it. Okay, that's enough. Yeah. Have a good weekend. Spend time with your family. Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.
Huh?
Yeah, good night.
Good day.